Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are radio for the local craft beer movement, broadcasting live from the inaugural day of the Juice Festival at Monday Night Garage in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm Aaron Williams.
And I'm Tim Dennis. We've got Brian Hewitt and Becky Smalls here with us today as well. Aaron, we're making a little bit of a change to the show starting this week. So, as you may know, since we started the show in 2016, we've always kept our focus on Alabama and Georgia brewers. So, but we're doing a little shift due to popular demand and also to get more interviews and insight into things. But we're going to start including some brewers from outside of Georgia and Alabama.
That's crazy talk, Tim.
And we figured Day of the Juice, when we've got some captive audience here, some captive brewers, would be a good day to do that.
Absolutely. And so we're taking advantage of this festival to talk to some of the best IPA brewers in the country. We've got Fraser Hansen. He's the founder and head brewer at Idyll Hounds from the Florida Panhandle, and the only Basil Lee from Finback Brewing in New York City is going to be with us. Plus, we'll talk to the Modern Hops crew, which are the folks responsible to bringing this on. So, good stuff, jam-packed show, as they say in the radio business. Exactly.
Good stuff, yes.
Absolutely. So, we've had a busy week as well. Brian and I were at Tiny Palooza last week, talking all about things tiny, and I know that you were on special assignment determining how exactly magnets work.
That's what I hear. There was a lot of hot magnet talk on the show last week.
So yes, exactly.
We still don't know.
Okay, good. Well,
just for the record,
I'll tell the Insane Clown Posse that.
But what we do know,
yes,
is the history of Georgia beer and the story of Roswell, Georgia's brewers. Because Becky and I were at the Roswell Beer Fest. We sat down with the brewers from Roswell. All four of the Roswell breweries did a little roundtable discussion. We also had Ron Smith and Mary Boyle on, who are the authors of Atlanta Beer, a heady history of brewing in the hub of the South. And we did a quick, fast Georgia beer history lesson.
Okay.
So very interesting stuff there. We've got that out on our podcast channel, the Georgia Beer History, and on our YouTube channel we have the panel discussion with Georgia's brewers.
And you can find that at Beer Guys Radio. If you just
Beer
search
Guys Radio.
YouTube /
just about anywhere. If you look
Yes.
for Beer Guys Radio, you will find us.
I hope so.
Absolutely.
Exactly. All right, well, let's check out, again, besides the Roswell Beer Fest, of course, besides Tiny Palooza, we, of course, had a very well-rounded week in beer. Tim, you had probably plenty of beers here at Roswell last week, didn't you?
I actually took it. I was a little under the weather at Roswell Beer Fest.
That's no fun.
So I took it easy. I did mostly talking and less drinking over there. But Becky and I went over to From the Earth.
Okay.
Had some snacks there and a couple beers. I dropped by Variant Brewing earlier in the week, and they've got their Aromasphere Northeast IPA, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I have a crowler that Matt was nice enough to give me to share with you guys. But we're busy drinking all these awesome beers here today.
And plus, they've got it on tap here at Day of the Juice.
So there you go.
There you
Easy
go.
enough. So
You just
then
drink it
I don't
yourself.
have to share my crowler then.
No, you still do.
Fantastic.
You still do.
No, I don't. No. So that was it. I stopped by Five Seasons Prado earlier in the week, and they had a beer one called the Jackpot that is a Scotch ale aged for 2.5 years in a bourbon barrel with sour cherries.
Okay.
And it was phenomenal. Very complex, lots of depth of flavor. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I got into.
Excellent. Of course, Brian and I got in a lot of trouble at Tiny Palooza. Lots of great beers there.
Yes, we did.
Yes, definitely. And beyond that, too, I was able to try a couple of good IPAs because it is that season. Temperatures are changing. We're getting a little bit more of the IPA weather from me. And at Monday Night Brewing, they've got a taproom only release Master Broda, which is basically their hopped up version of Han Grolo. Put about 4 pounds of hops in that bad boy, and it was one of those ones that is kind of like too teethy. It's like just kind of green and just full. You can almost taste the hop pellets. It had so much hops in it. So you would have hated it, Tim.
It sounds like a beer I would hate. It does, yes.
I absolutely loved it, yes. There was that, and then I also was able to get a couple of more IPAs as well, which is always fun. So how about yourself, Ryan?
So I made the trip down to Wrecking Bar for their can releases. I got to try their Juice Bar Pale Ale, which was really nice, very citrusy. Their Boys in the Yard Milkshake IPA, which was very interesting. Milkshake IPA is very... I'm on the fence with those. I like that, but I'm not 100% sure I'm sold on the concept. But I guess nobody really cares if I'm sold on the concept. They keep releasing.
Everyone loves the milkshakes, exactly.
And also really excited to see Technological Ripeness Double IPA version 2.0 released in cans as well. And I went over for the KBS/founder/Cerebral Brewing thing over at Argosy. I gotta tell you, the Cerebral stuff, wow, that's no joke.
Cerebral's pouring here at Day of the Juice. I had a couple of their beers as well. That's good stuff. They're on point.
That work from home with all the maple in it, oh my. Oh, my.
As someone who works from home as well,
yes,
you can enjoy that.
It's named after my lifestyle. It is my beer.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Excellent. Well, cool. Let's go ahead and check out this week's Truck and Taps Beers of the Week.
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Woo-hoo! Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
Tim, we don't really have a Truck and Tap Beer of the Week.
All the beers.
Just all the beers.
All the beers
exactly.
are the beers of the week. We are drinking everything that's here at Day of the Juice, especially stuff from Finback Brewing. Basil Lee. I've tried both of your beers so far, Basil. Enjoyed them both.
Awesome.
Very
Thank
good
you.
that you've got here. We got Idyll Hounds.
Yep.
You know, there's southern, or just barrel cultures here. Local breweries here. We got Variant, Creature Comforts, a little special pouring here from a local homebrew favorite, Little Cottage.
Yeah.
So that's all the beers are our beers of the week.
All of the beers, exactly.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and get straight into this week's headlines.
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
All right, Brian, what do we got?
All right, so the big news to me, and it's kind of scary news, is according to results that were released by EcoWatch this week, many popular beers and wine are contaminated with Monsanto's Roundup Weedkiller. No,
all right.
No kidding. So they found in some testing that they did dangerous levels of inorganic arsenic in glyphosate, which I think I'm saying that right.
Sure.
In a surprising number of beers and wines, and that includes organic beers, which I thought, I'm like, how on earth is that possible? Well, here's the thing. So a lot of people are using it. Roundup is used everywhere.
Yeah.
It's sprayed on, but the thing that people don't realize is it's also sprayed on grain crops to
Okay.
dry out the grains before harvest. Now, organic breweries wouldn't do that, so how are they getting this stuff on it? Well, it winds up drifting in the air, in polluted water, in soil, and in something I've never heard of and now terrified of called pesticide rain.
Yeah, so I guess what happens is, again, non-organic farms will have that runoff,
Yes.
and then folks that are organic will kind of take that water and take all the other stuff in the atmosphere, and it just kind of leaches into their to their crops.
So the really interesting thing is you think, okay, this has got to be a Bud Miller Coors thing. It is not just a Bud Miller Coors thing. It's Samuel Smith, Sam Adams, Peak Organics, Sierra Nevada. In fact, it's actually lower with the big guys because they use cheap adjuncts like rice, which are not infected with it as often. So it's a really interesting thing, and it's something that I think maltsters and everybody are going to have to take into account in the coming days, weeks, years, months, whatever.
That was the first thing that I wondered when I saw the article. I'm like, okay, when you hear about stuff like this, I'm like, it's got to be the macro beers. None of our craft brewers are guilty
no, of course
this.
not.
But then, of course, I saw, like I said, Sierra Nevada in there, Sam Adams, all those guys. So
they don't realize it. It's something that they're not expecting. They want organic grains, but they're getting this cross contamination. So it's a pretty significant deal.
Oh yeah.
If you can't trust your organic beer not to have Monsanto in it, what's wrong with the world?
I know, right?
Jeez.
Terrifying.
Terrible. Give us some better news, Brian.
So, well, potentially better news is we have New Belgium releasing a Hemp IPA or HPA in April. So, on draft in April, in cans in May, and they're calling it the Hemperor HPA.
Okay.
So it's not even a limited edition, which is what you would think, a limited release. No, this is a year-round deal. So they're inspired by brewers trying to get those dank, those cannabis-like aromas in their IPAs. So it's like, why don't we go to the source? Why don't we include that in there? So they're using hemp hearts, which is the meat of a seed minus the shell, dry hopping with Simcoe and an experimental hop, and there's also some other kind of natural plant materials that are involved to emulate the terpenes that you would get out of marijuana.
That's the most marijuana
cannabis.
talk I've ever heard in my life, that I now know so much more about marijuana than I did before.
Do you know?
I do.
Are you that?
I just know it's
so
dank.
educated?
That's all, exactly.
I do have something related.
Yep.
Keith Villa, the creator of Blue Moon, is also planning to release a non-alcoholic THC infused beer.
Okay.
So we've got a lot of news on the Chronic desk this week.
Wait, so he's going to put weed in it but make it non-alcoholic?
That is right. No
What?
alcohol.
I mean,
is it even beer?
what's the point? It is not. I think it's technically a group.
I think it is technically.
But you have to put an orange slice in it. That's the other thing too.
An orange slice.
You
See,
have to. Yeah.
When I first saw this news, it says Blue Moon Brewer to do THC beer. I didn't realize it was the guy that had started and had moved on. So I'm like, Blue Moon doing a THC beer? That doesn't sound right.
Definitely
So,
not. Definitely not.
Well, we need to take a quick break. We are here at Day of the Juice. We're going to be back in just a moment, and we're going to be talking to Basil Lee of Finback Brewing.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their taproom in Marietta to taste and see. Also, visit their barrel room with an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You passed out cigarettes for a smoke-a-thon on Earth Day. You installed speed bumps on the handicapped ramps. And most recently, you dumped 100 pounds of meat on a peaceful vegan protest.
Oh, come on. That was way more than 100 pounds.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com. And we have got Basil Lee from Finback Brewing. By the way, we should probably reset. We're here at Day of the Juice Festival at the Monday Night Garage in Atlanta, Georgia. Some of the greatest IPA brewers in the country are here, and it is fun times.
So much juice.
So much juice. It's Tim's favorites because he loves IPAs so much.
Well, it's the juicy ones,
well,
man,
that's true.
So
I guess that's true. Exactly.
It's all about the East Coast juice, so I'm down with this.
There you
totally
go. There you go.
So.
Well, cool. Well, welcome to the show, Basil Lee. Like I said, he is from Finback Brewing. Thanks for joining us all the way from New York City.
Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here.
Should we be traditionally like just a stereotypical Southern and go New York City?
That's the old Pace Picante sauce commercials.
We can't do that. No, but we love that. So
hey, Basil, thanks again for joining us. I've tried both your beers that you have here. My favorite of the two, so you've got your double dry hop moss and Fly On. And Fly On's a collaboration brew, is that correct?
Yep, that's right. We collaborated with Pure Project.
Very cool.
San Diego.
Well, that was my favorite of the two. I like the Fly On quite a bit. So that was a good beer, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us about the New York beer scene. I got to admit, I've never experienced the New York beer scene. Brian, I know
I have.
You've been up. I believe some Irish bikers got you drunk till 2 a.m. or something.
So I wound up
lines,
in
right?
Hell's Kitchen. I wound up going to a fireman's bar. They locked the doors. They liked me. And at a certain point, we just poured beers and we hung out all night. And I have never been more hungover in my life. I've never had more fun.
Good stuff.
I still remember the place, McMiniman's. It's named because of the name.
Yes.
It's named after a place in Oregon I used to go hang out.
So, Basil, is that typical of a night out in New York City beer?
That's a sign of a really great night out.
Right,
I mean, being locked into a bar with a bunch of firemen, I mean, that you lucked out. So.
There you go. Excellent. So, no, seriously, though, the New York beer scene, of course, I think if folks really kind of think of New York beer, they think of Brooklyn, which kind of paved the way back in the day, back when I was growing up in college, for beer, for craft beer in the New York area. But really, it's expanded, and you guys have got a lot of things going in New York City.
We do. It's a really exciting time in New York City. I mean, for sure, Brooklyn Brewery was one of the first kind of breweries in the city making beer, kind of pioneering it. And for a long time, they were only one of a handful of breweries. Starting in 2014, there was a big wave of new breweries, kind of this third wave maybe of breweries in New York City, and now probably nearly. Brooklyn and Queens definitely pretty neck and neck in terms of number of breweries, but really all 5 boroughs have breweries now. It's a really interesting scene. I think New York City has been a little behind, and so because of that, and because it's I think a big kind of energetic city, kind of really caught up quickly. People really pushing themselves to brew the best beer, kind of innovative beers, really high quality beers. So it's kind of fun times in New York now.
Well, we talk a lot about local beer, and it just keeps getting more local and more local. And in Atlanta area, we're kind of sprawled out. Atlanta's a sprawled city. We have our what they call ITP and OTP, inside the perimeter, 285 and outside, and they're sworn enemies. But you've got a lot of people here will travel to go to a brewery because the neighborhood thing Atlanta isn't really a neighborhood kind of city in a lot of ways. But in New York, I know a lot of people are more attached to their neighborhood. So how important is the community to say, geographically speaking, what's your tap room look like on the average Friday or Saturday night?
Yeah, so I mean, our tap room is kind of unique in that we're a little bit off the beaten path. We're about a 25-minute walk to the subway. In New York City, a 25-minute walk to the subway is pretty far. Yeah. So it's kind of a destination spot for us. We're really, Saturday, Sunday is really our big days. During the week, we're in a very, and I think you're right that in New York, New York City neighborhoods are really important. You've got, even though it's a big city, it's definitely made up of a lot of small neighborhoods, different ethnically diverse and different foods, different kind of things happening in different spots. But we have a lot of locals that come in kind of during the week. We're only open Wednesday to Sunday. And then on the weekends, it's much more kind of varied, people kind of making the trip out.
Now, speaking of Finback, let's talk about your name, how it got developed. I heard an interesting story about that.
So we both, myself and the other founder, were kind of from New England, so we wanted something a little bit kind of talking about the marine and water kind of aspect of New England. So we were actually named Another Whale, and not that surprising, there's a lot of trademark issues. We had a trademark issue early on, and at the time we were also looking for space in Brooklyn, and didn't really work out, so we kept kind of expanding our hunt. And finally we found our space, kind of the perfect space in Queens, and there was a Finback whale that was beached at a local beach. Kind of a sad story, but we kind of wanted to take that. There was a little local story, a little sad, and we felt a little beached ourselves, but kind of took that sad story and went with it.
Now, speaking of community and neighborhood and that, you have a program you call your CSB program. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so, that was something early days we started, as a kind of community-supported beer program, like a CSA or something, where people kind of buy in before the beer's even brewed, and kind of just, in a way, helping us kind of fund brewing beer. And as a business model, now it's grown into really, it's just our kind of a growler program. We do some events and things like that, and we'll invite CSB members, but generally it's just like a kind of like a growler program now.
Okay. He's selling beer futures there. So it's like wine. He's pulling the wine world into this with the beer.
That's right.
He said buying it before it's brewed. We got beer futures going on up there.
But why not?
Why not, man?
That's a good idea.
Get him in there. So
now, some of the challenges that you have in New York City, of course, here in Atlanta, here in other places, real estate may not necessarily be a huge problem here, but in New York City, that real estate isn't cheap. So what are some of the challenges that you guys have in the city that maybe some other folks don't?
Yeah, I'm always jealous every time we visit breweries outside of major cities in general. You hit the nail on the head. First of all, space is expensive everywhere in this city. Mm-hmm. And that's not where it ends, right? It's more expensive to get shipments into the city. It's more expensive to move spent grain out of the city, out of your brewery. So everything does get a little more complicated. I look at and beer pricing in the city, it's not necessarily that much higher than other places, but it's kind of a tough business, and you try to make it work. I think one of the things that really has helped, and maybe one of the the thing is having tap rooms. Having tap rooms for all of us kind of smaller breweries, I think is what allows us to make beer and also kind of make viable businesses.
Now, are you required to distribute some of your beer in New York? Or are you able to do straight tap room?
You can do straight tap room. I would say nearly all of us in New York City, except brew pubs, distribute some beer.
Right.
And the other great thing in New York City is that we can self-distribute. Mm-hmm. So we self-distribute our beer in New York City. We have a tap room. Yeah.
So what's that mean? And I ask this question because I'm curious, because we don't have that here in Georgia, self-distribution. But what's that mean for you? As opposed to, how would things have changed for you if you could not do that?
Yeah, I think we really like self-distributing, and we also, we've worked with distributors before. We have distributor partners outside of New York City as well. But in terms of self-distribution, I think there's a couple of great things. One, it really keeps us connected with our accounts. They see us, our salespeople, our delivery people. There's a very direct relationship with our accounts. And the other is control. There's quality control in terms of who the beer goes to. We're intimately aware of that because we're pretty much just doing it ourselves. And also control in that we're not competing with a whole bunch of other breweries in a big distributor portfolio. Where really everyone that works at Finback is there to tell the story of Finback and to sell Finback beer.
Finback Brewing, thank you so much for your time today, and enjoy Atlanta and Day of the Juice.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. This has been a wonderful time.
Cheers.
I have a question for you.
Yes?
Do you love barrel-aged beers?
Well, yes, I do.
I do as well.
Good. Then make sure to visit Sweetwater Woodlands. The Woodlands offers a totally different experience from Sweetwater that you're used to, with a focus on barrel-aged and wild ales, including high ABV stouts, long-aged wild ales, and sours. Sweetwater takes a huge departure from their heady, hoppy beers. For an exclusive taste of the Woodlands, check out the Woodland Circle. This members-only beer club brings you 6 different unique beers each year, as well as a $25 bar tab at the Woodlands Bar, exclusive glassware, and 10% off Sweetwater's swag shop. In partnership with Sweetwater, we're giving away a membership to one lucky listener. This membership has a $149 value and includes all the awesome perks mentioned above. Visit BeerGuysRadio.com for more info on the Woodland Circle and for details on entering the contest. A winner will be drawn on April 21st. Good luck.
Excellent. Good luck to everyone out there. And time for another break. Coming up next, we'll wrap up at Day of the Juice with Idyll Hounds out of Florida. Plus, we'll talk about more about what's coming up next week on the show. You're listening to Beer Guys Radio. Make sure to follow Beer Guys Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back right after this.
We are Reformation Brewery, celebrating the reformer in you. Locally crafted within the renowned Etowah watershed of Woodstock, Georgia, Reformation creates yeast-forward brews full of aroma and flavor crafted to last. Come see us in beautiful Woodstock, Georgia, for a tour and tasting of unique brews that you can't find anywhere else. Reformation Brewery, set beer free. ReformationBrewery.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Cannonball coming.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. BeerGuysRadio.com, Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram. If you missed part of our show or want to relive it, who wouldn't? We'll just head to iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. And while you're here, leave us a review, and it helps more people to find us. And we are back at Day of the Juice here in Atlanta, Georgia at Monday Night Brewing's Garage. We've got the crew from Idyll Hounds. Fraser Hansen is joining us, and I'm so sorry, I forgot your name. I apologize.
David Fazekas.
Yeah.
How about that, man? Bang.
There you go.
Boom.
So, yeah.
And we're sipping one of your beers, man. It's a gorgeous beer. Tell us about it.
This is My Felicia. It's one of our kettle sours. It's a tropical fruit blend. It comes in at 3.5%. And it's super easy drinking, and it's pretty tasty.
So the colors are awesome on that, man. What fruits is that representing?
It's the secret.
The Secret Fruits.
Secret Fruits.
Secret Fruits Florida Vice.
It is a tropical blend of secret fruits.
Tropical.
You know what I'm telling you, though? It's got this like pink color.
It is absolutely beautiful.
It is great.
They've said too much already.
But it's almost like, and it's interesting because we want to talk a little bit about Florida Vices, and over the past couple of years that Florida Vices have kind of become sort of the norm a little bit down here in the South. Easy drinking, kettle sours, almost like, this reminds me so much of like, Hawaiian Punch back in the day. What are kettle sours, or what are Florida Vices, and kind of how do you guys develop those in that area?
Yeah, sure. So it's just a blend. Our kettle sours start off with a basic malt bill, a nice heavy wheat base, nice kettle sour. Like to get the pH nice and low to get it nice and tart, and then we blend it with a whole bunch of different fruits. We usually split each batch into a couple different fruits to keep the tap room full and happy, and like to keep them nice crushers, nice easy drinking beers for the beach.
Very cool. Now, speaking of the beach, you guys are located in Santa Rosa Beach.
Santa Rosa Beach, Florida.
Which is kind of between Destin, Panama City Beach. Now, we had a local Atlanta beer geek, beer nerd, beer connoisseur.
There you go.
Moved down to that area. Is it Emerald Coast? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So, and they said there just really wasn't a whole lot going on there, but things are changing there, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. We like to kind of think that we're leading the pack in a way. We like to brew everything under the sun. We come out with new beers. Try to have a couple new beers every month. Our tap room is steady, full of new beers all the time. We keep it light. We go everything from stouts to porters to super sour to IPAs across the board.
We definitely like to brew what we like to drink, and I think that's part of the thing that sets us apart from people. We don't brew for everybody, we brew for us, and that translates really well to the public.
So if it's a nice, warm, slightly breezy Saturday afternoon, and I come to your tap room, what am I likely to see on tap there?
You might see a Saison. You're definitely going to see our three core beers, our double IPA, our American Pale Ale, and our Pilsner. You're going to probably see some sours. You're going to see some stouts. You're going to see maybe a Dunkel or a Belgian. So all kinds of stuff.
Now, man, I'm trying to remember the name. Was it Divide and Conquer?
Divide and Conquer, yeah.
And that is CONCH apostrophe R, right?
The conch,
So,
like
a conch shell.
Very
shellfish.
cool names. That's see. Now, let me tell you guys, I love Atlanta. I love living in Atlanta. That if there was one thing that I could ask for out of Atlanta, is I wish we were coastal. Yeah, that's when I was a young lad. I grew up. My family's from Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Virginia. Yep. So I grew up coastal. I grew up fishing and crabbing and hanging out on the beach, and I miss that. I love Atlanta. It's a fantastic town. We're a great beer town, but I wish we were a little more coastal. I wish we could get some conch fritters here in Atlanta, and a nice beer to go with it. And that. So you guys kind of embrace the beach lifestyle, correct?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. We try to keep it in our logo pretty heavy and keep those nice approachable beach beers coming.
Beach beer repeat is one of our slogans, one of our sayings.
Yeah.
Sure. Beach beer repeat.
That sounds like the kind of life I want to live.
I was gonna say let's move, Tim.
Bring it on, man.
Right.
I think that's a plan right there.
Beer Guys Radio coming to you live from the Emerald Coast.
I'm done.
We've got it already, man. We're set.
Exactly. So now you've also been experimenting with different hop techniques, kind of using hop hash, hop oil, those types of things. Have you found an approach that works for you guys, or just kind of just playing with the style, seeing how it works?
Yeah, we're definitely playing with it. We as new products come out, we always test them, test the water, see how they're going to work. We do a lot of small batch stuff, so we keep the tap room full of small batch. We have a 15-gallon system that we use in the brewery. When new hops come out, we definitely like to kind of exploit those and use them and see how they work. If things work good, we'll scale them up to the 20-barrel system and run with them.
Find some stuff that works for us, and find some stuff that, if it doesn't work, then we do something else.
Now, see, I'm a home brewer, but because of the radio show, I haven't homebrewed in a couple of years.
It's my fault.
It is. It's all your fault. Everything pretty much is.
I totally
we all blame you, Aaron.
I know. I get it.
But the cryo hops, the hop powder, all of that stuff is new, is uncharted territory for me. But there's a lot of new options out there for getting the hops flavor and bitterness into your beer, correct?
Absolutely,
and I think we talked a little bit about with the hop oils, you get a lot more yield out of your beer, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we use in Divide and Conquer. That's our backbone bittering. We use a lot of CTZ oil. We use that oil for a lot of our bittering, I guess I should say, and definitely experimenting all the time on the dry hop side of how to incorporate those into the beer. It's a little harder on the dry hop side, using powders and oils and whatnot. So we use different techniques like recirculating the tanks and blending the hop oil and the powder into the beer. Yeah, it's fun. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Do you guys find that your average consumer is, because I'm assuming you get around, you're in Atlanta now, you make some, do you find the beach consumer is different than someone, say, that's not on a coastal kind of location?
Yes and no. I think that people that enjoy craft beer and people that come to breweries like ours, they're looking for all kinds of different things. And I think we really, kind of hit the nail on the head with the different beers that we brew, and there's something for everybody. And that's why I think it translates well between coastal and between inland.
Right.
There's something for everybody. If you want to drink something that's coastal when you're down at the beach, we got our Pilsner. If you want to have a nice double IPA while you're up here in Atlanta, you got the double IPA. So
sure.
I don't really think location plays into it. I think that the range of styles that we do kind of run that game in. So.
Do a variety, and everybody loves good beer, right?
Sure.
Keep everybody happy.
It's interesting though. I mean, you guys are here at Day of the Juice here in Atlanta, Georgia, with a bunch of different brewers across the country. I think as beer drinkers, beer consumers, it's obvious what our advantages are here to drink a bunch of beers that we've never tried before. But for you guys as brewers, what is something that you really can take away from an event like this?
We always, in a way, try to. I hate to use the word emulate styles, but I mean that's kind of the name of the game. You find a beer that you really like and you try to replicate it in a way, but put your own touch on it. I think that we've done that very well, but also really put our own flair on it. Beer changes so much. What you're brewing, water, profile, yeast, everything going into it. So,
for me, just meeting all these different brewers from different places, just having a 2-minute conversation and taking something away from that. I mean, that's something that we can use back, home, and hopefully what they hear from us, they can use back home. And we're all trying for the same goal, is to push craft beer out there and to elevate each other. So
make awesome beer.
I really like it. I really like it.
How is the overall beer scene in your area now?
It's good. It's growing. We definitely have some new up-and-coming breweries coming up. A lot of small guys starting to lead the way down there for us. And,
I think we're in the uptick in the Panhandle for sure. A lot of guys further south in Tampa, St. Pete, Miami, they've been around for a little while.
Yeah.
I think the Panhandle is really growing. It's going to grow fast. And I think we're definitely in that that uptick.
We did a show last year with the guys from 30A Radio, and we sat down with him, and he was saying, there were a couple breweries down there that he talked about quite a bit, but it just sounded like it was something, that was still evolving.
It's exciting. We're looking forward to it. We're a very vacation rental heavy area, so we get people from all over the place, and I think that really helps us with our reach.
Very cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. So if people want to know what the heck is going on with the Idyll Hounds, what's the best way for them to keep informed?
Social media, Facebook or Instagram, Idyll Hounds Brewing Company on Facebook, or Idyll Hounds Brewing Company on Instagram. We're always posting new beers coming out, food that we're going to have at the brewery, just things going on. Definitely social media, Facebook or Instagram.
And that is IDYLL Hounds, correct?
IDYLL Hounds,
awesome.
brewingcompany.com.
Guys, thanks for joining us here in Atlanta for Day of the Juice. Thanks for joining us on Beer Guys Radio. It was great chatting with you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks.
It's Aaron and Tim, the beer guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock and Alpharetta are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Aaron. See, they've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily, so that way you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and coming soon to Duluth in 2018. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the beer guys sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Your revolution is over, Mr. Lebowski. Condolences, the bum's lost.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Visit us on the socials. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Beer Guys Radio. We are live at Day of the Juice Festival in Atlanta, Georgia, the first day of the Juice Fest. We are here with the organizers of this awesome event, Modern Hops, and we have Eric Levin, and we have Barrett Horde with us here. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and for throwing this absolutely awesome festival right here at Monday Night Garage. What spurred this idea, man? What made you decide that Day of the Juice needed to happen?
I feel like there was a beer festival in Atlanta that maybe we went to, and we were just like, it was kind of one of those cookie cutter beer fests, where it's the same beer every time, and we're like, you know what? Atlanta deserves something special, and of course we got Shelton last year. We were like, let's do something kind of with a theme, and so we were going heavy for IPAs, and then we thought, all right, let's dial it back a little bit and maybe bring in some sours and other beers, and we wanted to focus more though on like the third generation brewing guys, the
third wave stuff, man.
Yeah, the next gen, the people that are doing crazy stuff like Upstate and Casita and Bond Brothers and
Idyll Hounds and Finback.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah. And of course we've got some great established breweries like Monday Night and Cherry Street and Blue Pants, but at the same time wanted to do something that people in Atlanta have never had before. And that was the goal.
You talk about that, and I guess it's something with an evolving beer scene. If you look back 3-4 years ago in the Atlanta beer scene, we had a festival here called Hottoberfest. And at the time that festival started, there was nothing else like it. You couldn't find anything else like it. As of last year, the organizers said, I'm not going to do this anymore. Because when I started this, no one else was doing anything like this, but now there's a ton of festivals here. So we have a ton of, like you said, the cookie cutter festivals, and I'm not hating on those because they introduce a lot of people to craft beer. But for a craft beer geek, a craft beer veteran, whatever terminology you want to use, those festivals don't offer much in the way of introducing you to anything new.
Right.
So a festival like this, there's a lot of breweries here today, Eric, that have never been in Georgia before.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah.
So like Idyll Hounds and Finback that we spoke to on the show earlier. And we're sipping a beer right now called I've Been Drinking About You. Who's this from, guys? I can't find the brewery name on here.
Casita Cerveceria.
Okay.
Yeah, so they did that in honor of Jean Brulet from Tired Hands. So they brew with a lot of other breweries. Like they have a beer on with Hill Farmstead collab they did.
Okay,
they went and brewed with the Answer. So I think one of them used to work at Hill Farmstead and just got to know everybody in the industry, and they're kind of like Finback, just doing tons of collabs with whole breweries.
Yeah. Now, we talked to, I think it was Idyll Hounds we were chatting with a little bit earlier, and they were talking about kind of ongoing distribution in Georgia and kind of getting out in the market a little bit more. And they talked about you guys as distributors. Now, in the world of the 3-tier system, we have a lot of big distribution houses. But over the last few years, I don't mean this term negatively, but little guys like you have came up that are kind of servicing the industry a little bit differently. So what does modern hops bring to the landscape of distribution?
It's similar theme to the festival. It's beers that are that next gen. You know, we're not looking to bring in somebody that wants to be in every aisle of a grocery store, but maybe we can get a pallet of M43 cans once every 2 months, you know, and we send them out to the market, and that's it. They're gone.
My goal here today is to drink a pallet of M43 cans.
Well, you know how,
I want to see that happen.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man.
It's like I've been just very strained because right next to us is about a pallet of M43, and
it's hanging out over there.
I've been trained not to like grab a couple of those cases and just go and just run away.
Just run for the door.
Exactly. I could have done that.
But but to talk a bit more about the festival here, this is a great event. The crowd size is manageable. And one thing that we were talking about those cookie cutter festivals, there's 1,000 people there.
Right.
It's elbow to elbow. It's a lot of newer craft beer drinkers that they're there for volume.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
This is more of the beer geek crowd.
Right.
These are guys that are coming because, to be honest, the tickets to this were not inexpensive. Right. But it's this exclusivity of the beers you're getting.
Exactly.
That says that. And guys, to jump around, this is a charity event, correct?
That's it, yeah.
And who are you raising funds for here?
So Georgia Transplant Foundation and Polycystic Kidney Disease Foundation of Georgia as well.
Very cool.
It's been a tremendous success. I think we'll be able to give them a nice donation. With all the breweries were fantastic at bringing beer for raffles, which just have been on fire.
Awesome.
As well as all the merchandise and everything is going towards charity. So really happy with all of that, and a lot of the breweries too donated their kegs for the festival. So that certainly helped with expenses of putting this on.
Yeah.
Props to you for putting on this fest, for putting it on, because I've assisted with organizing things before. And it's demanding.
It is.
I mean, getting this many breweries together under one roof takes a lot of work in that. So, and we've got some stuff here. Like Aaron mentioned earlier, we got situated right next to Old Nation, who is cracked their M43, and 5 ounces at a time or 4 ounces at a time. I probably had 3 or 4 cans.
I was going to say, you've like cracked open about 4 or 5 of those bad boys.
I've been doing my best to sample the heck out of that. But, you know, this is exciting for us in Georgia. For a craft beer geek, this is exciting. And this is a festival that I'm assuming we've been talking about this being the inaugural fest or the first annual. I'm assuming that means you guys plan on doing this again, correct?
I wish we could do this every month. I don't know that we have the manpower or the energy for it, but yeah, we will definitely be back next year. I was talking to the Monday night guys before about possibly doing it again here next year. So if we could do an inaugural thing, that would be awesome. And there were a lot of really good breweries that were going to come, but because of the date, they just couldn't make it happen. So I think, shall we do it again next year? We're going to get some really exciting people, too.
It could be semi-annually, because nothing about the name says once a year. Maybe twice a year.
That's correct.
Quarterly. Anything?
Yeah.
He's ready to give you a good slug in the jaw.
That's right.
Suggesting that much work a few times.
The ideas are churning, though, so we got to get them out.
Yes.
Like
brainstorming.
Stouts and Sours Fest in the fall, you know. There's some good stuff I think we can do.
Yeah, all I know is just Tim just starts cracking open tall boys. And just
Day of the malt.
Exactly.
Don't tell me how to live my life.
Hey, man, you do you. It's all good, man.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Guys, if folks want to keep up with what's going on with Modern Hops, with the breweries you've got out there, what's the best way to do that?
modernhops.com.
Modernhops.com, man. That's it. Anything else you want to add that we haven't mentioned, or anything you want folks to know about Modern Hops?
You know, one thing I want to say is, you guys may or may not know this, but the reason we chose these foundations, Eric had a kidney transplant about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So this hits home with us, and when it's this close, it makes everything that much easier to put the extra effort into.
Sure.
It's personal, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Very cool.
It is, yeah. And I think that, attracted a lot of volunteers that aren't typically beer drinkers. You always get a lot of volunteers that volunteer to get the second shift free pours and things like that. But we got a lot of people, wanting to help out and donating things like butter and cream, donating the ice cream, the beer flavored ice cream, and we got the
shout out to those guys at Butter and Cream, because they brought us an ice cream flight earlier.
Nice.
And we had a stout ice cream with cinnamon.
Delicious.
That was, I think it was a Hubbard's Cave.
The Hubbard's Cave.
That step and razor.
Step and razor.
Oh, man.
Like a sorbet
was
or
that
something.
good? I haven't had
that was
that
really good, man.
Nice,
So
nice.
And you know what? Those guys at Butter and Cream are just super nice guys.
Absolutely.
So if you find yourself in Decatur, Georgia, or Roswell, Georgia, stop by Butter and Cream and get you some ice cream or some beer-infused ice cream there.
Yes, and thank you too to Monday Night, because they have been phenomenal partners the whole way. Couldn't have asked for anything more from a host as well.
Excellent.
Very cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, for putting on this awesome festival. We appreciate it very much. We have Eric Levin, we have Barrett Horde from Modern Hops Distribution. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Exactly. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. Definitely. Thank you. Well, that's going to do it for the Beer Guys Radio this week. Be sure to head to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and follow us. Also, subscribe to the Beer Guys Radio Show on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. And you know what? Leave us a review whenever you are there. Coming up next week, we'll be at the garage, right here, talking to the one and only journalist, author, and hop expert, Stan Hieronymus. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. We'll talk to you next time. Cheers.